I'm not gonna lie, folks. You know, I hear a lot of people talking. I go to certain forums like ToonZone, FanFiction.net, and several others, and I don't think it surprises me that I'm probably not the only one out there that. And yeah, the title says it best on the screen and below that I am a Daphne slash Shaggy supporter. I'm not lying about that, folks. And here's why. Here's why I'm a supporter of that. I mean, I can understand, the way it's balanced out recently in Mystery Incorporated that, you have Shaggy with Shaggy and Velma possibly, and you have Daphne and Fred, and I can understand that because that pays sort of homage, pay an homage to the original, Where Are You and shows and stuff. I can understand that, and I really get that. I mean, it also pays homage to the movie, to live action movies. It pays homage to the animated films as well. But I think I think the reason people like me kind of support the Shaggy Daphne thing is because it's not the fact that they are the two more popular human characters, or the two out of the three most popular characters besides Scooby, of course. I think it's basically the fact that they just mesh well together, and they just mesh well. I mean, think about it. There are a lot of hints out there of these two possibly, being interested in each other. I mean, let's take the first musical if they did what they did that they did last year, which was Scooby-Doo and I think the music of the vampire or something like that. You have them singing at the end or at the beginning and the end, and I'm not sure where the scene is because it's been used in several videos where it's 100 hints or 100 Shag Daphne, as it's called, Shag Daphne, short for Shaggy and Daphne moments video, 140 hints video, whatever, that show Daphne and Shaggy being hinted as a couple or something like that. And there's this one scene where she kind of like she's singing in the back of this Jeep, and she's back there with Scooby and Shaggy, and there's this one thing where she's just singing, got her arm around Shaggy and stuff like that. So, and then of course there's a couple of clips and all that. I don't know if it's from that movie or if it's from Mystery Incorporated, where she's in the back with Shaggy and she's kind of like leaning towards him as they're being attacked or something by a monster. And then, of course, there's Night Terrors from the first season, which kind of really, you know, gives implications of, gives basically the Shaggy Daphne supporters and shippers some hope. But again, we don't know. Um, and to me, again, I can understand why people like me would support it, and many others out there would support it. Excuse me. It's basically the fact that, again, it's not the fact that they just mesh together. I mean, out of all the characters back in the early to mid 80s, excuse me, back in the early to mid 80s, that they could have brought back to team up with Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, out of the three characters, who did they choose? They chose Daphne. And it's not just because maybe she won a popularity contest, maybe by phone call or snail mail or whatever you want to call it back then, however however they chose to go with it. But again, it's not just that. It's in a sense, I think those that worked on the all-new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy show where she returned, the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, which was basically a continuation of that, as well as 13 Ghosts, I think those that worked on it, and I'm probably even putting in Bill and Joe, God rest their souls, I think all of them took a liking to Scooby I mean, not Scooby, but to Shaggy and Daphne as a pairing, because they too saw how well they meshed together. And basically, I think they also saw how popular she was along with Shaggy and Scooby, and even at the time, Scrappy. So she kind of, I'm pretty sure those that worked on, like I said, all new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy Show and Scooby-Doo Mysteries and 13 Ghosts, they saw that. They saw that, and then you have people at certain forums kind of looking at different timelines and all that, indicating how you see those hints through these timelines of all the shows throughout the franchise's history, including some movies which were obviously aired after 13 Ghosts, but presumably, according to one person, probably taking place before 13 Ghosts, presumably taking place before, in this one person's eyes, that along with all these timelines, including, like I said, the movies that presumably came before 13 Ghosts, even though 13 Ghosts, timeline-wise, came before them, they pretty much look at the fact that as soon as we got to the Scooby-Doo show is when you started seeing more hints of Shaggy Daphne. And that you started seeing more of those hints there. And that even after they took a break, again, and even after they took a break and just put Shaggy, Scrappy, and Scooby for a year or so, that when they brought Daphne back, I mean, this even goes to the Scooby and Scrappy show, the first season, where it involved Mystery Incorporated. You know, even with that along with the Scooby-Doo show, is, again, where this person started to see sort of that more subtle hints, and more strong subtle hints, actually, of those two being together. And again, after they took that break where it was just, where they just focused on Scooby, Shaggy, Scrappy, and as well as Shaggy's Western cousin and sheriff cousin and Scooby's cousin Yapper or Yabadoo, if you will. I think that's what his name is, Yabadoo. When they came back from that and they did the all-new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy show along with Scooby-Doo Mysteries and 13 Ghosts, is where this person presumes, and probably has a strong case in this, because like I said, I think even the creators behind all these shows saw it too. But basically this person feels that this was a timeline where you had, the stronger indication, because now you just had them together. And they pointed out all sorts of signs and hints that you could find throughout all three of these shows. Like there's one hint, whether I can't think of the episode right now, but I've seen it. But basically where they are sleeping outside, the dogs are in the van. Okay, the dogs are in the van. And Daphne and Shaggy are sleeping outside next to each other. And this person puts in a great exposition, I guess you could say, of how this really hints that now, with these newer shows at that time, now it shows that it's not just hinting anymore, that now they are basically saying, hey, that basically the creators of these shows are basically saying now, hey, Shaggy and Daphne are a couple. So, yeah, going through all those expositions and stuff. And then again, like I said, you take a look at some of these fan vids that they did, the 140 hints, the 100 moments deal. You can't really deny that they have, a strong case, and because obviously they do. Now, what's funny though is after all this happens, after these shows take place, all the other shows that came before it, they don't acknowledge, except maybe Pup Named Scooby-Doo, because of a few moments here and there, but they don't acknowledge anything else after that. They don't acknowledge, um, they don't acknowledge what's new Scooby-Doo, even though there are some hints there or scenes there that can indicate it. They don't acknowledge at times the movies from Zombie Island to currently. They don't acknowledge those. Heck, they don't even acknowledge the very hated Scooby and Shaggy Get a Clue. And believe it or not, they don't even acknowledge Mystery Incorporated, except for possibly Night Terrors and a few other hints. I'm not lying. They say they don't count them, even though they've admitted that there have been scenarios and scenes that have kind of showcased the possibility of these two being together. And, to me, I think, again, when you take a look at the earlier shows before this, like I said, all new Scooby and Scrappy, Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and 13 Ghosts, and yeah, you have a strong case. And maybe even the first season of Scooby and Scrappy, and with Mystery Incorporated, as well as the Scooby-Doo show, as well, then yeah, you kind of have a strong case. I mean, if you really want to give a hint to all of that, if you really want to hint at that, take a look at Chiller Diller Theater, if you will, which introduced us to Scooby-Doo. I mean, basically, Daphne had to coax Scooby into helping Dee, into disguising himself as Dee. Now, I can understand Daphne does that because Scooby's her friend. But Scooby is owned by Shaggy. I know that doesn't make any sense, but you kind of get the idea. But again, that's what people are saying. You kind of get the hint. You kind of see more hints and subtle hints there. But again, they acknowledge that show, the hints and subtle hints and stuff and scenes that are showcased there. They acknowledge the shows of the first season of Scooby and Scrappy with Mystery Incorporated. They acknowledge what they see in there. They acknowledge the 3 shows that came after that, which was all new Scooby and Scrappy, Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and 13 Ghosts, and even a bit of a pup named Scooby. They acknowledge that. And even though they don't really count, like I say, what's new Scooby-Doo and what's new Scooby-Doo and Scooby and Shaggy Get a Clue and Mystery Incorporated, as well as the movies, even though they don't count them as part of the timeline or as part of the continuity, they do, believe it or not, count what they see as subtle hints of a Shaggy Daphne pairing. And again, being a supporter, believe it or not, because I am a supporter of it, a supporter of a Shaggy Daphne deal. You can't really blame somebody for feeling like that. I mean, again, it goes back to what I said last time in my last audio video. I remember, being a fan, I remember when Rescue Rangers first came out and being a fan of it. I remember always wanting to see Dale and Gadget together, and yeah, thanks to Boom Studio Comics, we have Dale and Foxglove officially, I'm guessing now, as a couple, if you will, or an on and off couple. I can understand and accept that, as well as I could probably understand if they made it official Chip and Gadget, but there's always going to be a part of me that would like to see Dale and Gadget. And there's going to be a part of a lot of people who would like to see Dale and Gadget. you know, it's just common because